Thank you very much. Goedemiddag allemaal. Yeah, that was it. The rest isn't in English. What? Wat zegt hij nou? In Nederlands praten? Jongen, jongen. Ik heb deze in de spooky plek zitten. Yeah. First, I want to thank the organization for inviting me. It always feels a pleasure to stand in front of horse enthusiasts, horsey-looking people, as you all look. Yeah, what are we talking about? Horse welfare, welzijn voor paarden. What is that? What is horse welfare? Of course, it's a big topic. It's a difficult thing to try to say in one word. I try to put it into categories, the basics. What are we trying to provide for horses? Light is pretty important, air is pretty important, water is pretty important, nutrition is pretty important, and movement is pretty important. So these basics are going to require our horses to be healthy. The second category is, are they healthy? Pain recognition, which we've just eloquently heard an expert speaking detail about. Are our horses healthy? And for me, the other big one is mindset. So, do our horses have a good mindset? What is it for our horses to have a good mindset? And how do we provide that for the horses? And that's a little bit my job, or has been my job for as long as I can remember. So first, to find out how we think about mindset, for me, is to ask the question, what is the single one most important thing to a horse? And does anybody know that? First of all, hands up those of you that are TRT method members. Okay, you're not allowed to answer most of the questions that I'm going to ask. You're excluded, including this first question, what is the single one most important thing to a horse? And if anybody says happy athlete, I'm going to leave now. Sorry, say it again? Safety. Yeah, that's a very good one. Where does the want for safety come from? Sorry? Say it again? The herd, yes. So the herd is the most important thing to a horse. And why is the herd one of the most important things to a horse? Security, comfort. Why is security and comfort important? To stay alive. We have the most intelligent person in the room. Survival. Survival is the single one most important thing to a horse. And through that, the motivational thing is to look for comfort in all areas. So what is the opposite of that? Uncertainty. How do we avoid uncertainty? With education, with knowledge. What I consider my superpower to be for me, in learning about me, horses about self-knowledge and self-improvement for me, it is about teaching the horses to be a master of themselves, to learn about self-awareness. Who is my horse and what is he thinking? So the self-awareness part is where we put ourselves in the position not of the dictator that is going to tell our horses what they have to do, and not the mummy that tells our horses, it's okay boy, when it's really not okay, but the mentor, the one that can teach him the most about himself. The mummies all laughed in the seats there when I mentioned the mummy situation. So it's about the mentor, it's the one that can teach the horse the most about himself, because it's about self-knowledge and self-management, that the horse knows what to do with himself in all the hours he's not with us. It's also our responsibility to teach him what to do with himself in our environment, which is the environment we put him in. The lack of information, the lack of self-management, self-awareness in a horse is what causes dressage disaster videos. It's what puts horse people and horse sport in disrepute. It's where the ugly photos come from. It's where most of my clients come from. I'm the guy that gets the horses that blew up at the competition the week before. I'm the busiest after the stallion show, after the World Championships for young horses. And it's because most of those horses were not given the information of how to manage themselves into the environment they were put in. The other really important part for us to think about in mentoring our horses is, let's do a little exercise. All your TRTers are nudging each other, knowing what this exercise might be. But I want you to all, normally now I play some really nice music, to go with the mood and to get you in the mode. So just play your favourite song in your head right now. And then I want you to go back. You can close your eyes if you need to. If you're older than me, you might need to close your eyes to remember as far back as when you first saw a horse. That first time you had contact with a horse. I remember as a small boy walking into the stable. My mother worked in a racing stable and I was small, not much smaller than what I am now. And I remember walking into the stable and reaching up and hoping that he would let me touch him. I was thinking, what is he thinking? I hope he doesn't think, "Ooh, I'm afraid of you and I want to go to the back of the box." I was trying to lure him, attract him to make connection, to make contact with me. And so if you can remember back, what are some of the thoughts that invoked in your mind when you first made contact? What are some of the things that you thought or hoped that your horse would think, that your horse would feel, that horse would remember from when you made contact with him? And it's these elements that every person that has contact with a horse has that experience. And most people that have a good experience with a horse like this stay interested in horses, or they remember that experience. Now it's these small elements that need to stay with us, because it becomes the why we do it. Because it's not important what we do, it's important why we do it. And sometimes we lose connection with that. And that's where the horse's welfare gets somewhat put in the background. We become riders, we become dressage riders, jumping riders, we become that shifty horse dealer. We start to work in the profession where we get focused on our profession, we get focused on accolades, we get focused on getting better, we get focused on what everyone else is doing around us, we get focused on what we see on social media, and that girl has a horse that's 5 years old and mine's 5 years old and mine should also be doing that, and we get taken away from those initial important things, the connection. And general welfare for horses needs to come from that place. And what that does is that creates a good intent. Your intention is really important. What you intend, what you want, how much you care for the horse. You ask yourself, who is this horse and what is he thinking? And these elements have to stay with you in order for us, equestrians, not a dressage rider, or we are not as bad as the jumping riders, we don't use those crazy bits or those. No, us as equestrians need to remember those elements, because that is why we do it, not what we do. And that is a big aspect of staying in the good moral and ethical practices of doing good for horses, which for me is what horse welfare is about. So we're going to now look at a real horse. I don't know who the horse is. That's why these clinics are always as exciting for me as everybody else. Hope it's a good clinic horse. I hope he doesn't make me look like an idiot. And while we're looking at this horse, that was the cue. We're going to be talking about the techniques of how to teach the horses to have good self-awareness, good self-management, so that he's not only able to manage himself in all the things we want him to do, but he has a good self-management system, a good understanding of himself, in order to be in control of his own physical and mental soundness for the 23 hours he's not with us. So it's not about getting him to do what we want or getting him to not spook or perform better, but it's about creating a life for horses that's better than nature intended. And so all of the things that horses can receive from us, they can't receive in nature. Nature is not going to teach them the perfect order of movement in order to feel balanced in the world they're living in. So it's about teaching them this for the 23 hours they're not with you, so that they are also comfortable and relaxed and feel that they are in an environment all the time where they are in control, when they are not with you. And so when they have those skills, we are taking care of how the horses are feeling in all the situations, in the stable, in the field, when they go on the trailer, in the horse truck, to the competition, all of these things. So we're going to teach now these techniques, and also still have in the back of our mind, we're going to practice remembering the sensations and the thoughts that we first had when we first made contact with a horse. And we're going to try to keep those with us as we go through some maybe new things or strange things or repeated things for the people that are doing TRT method. Oh, he's doing that thing again. So maybe I will go and search for the horse. I don't even know which curtain the horse should come from. Oh, look, there he is. Oh, that's a good start. So, the important part in the beginning, when I'm looking at a horse, it's about the combination. Because, of course, it's the combination, it's the human-horse connection that's really important. So for me, when I look at the combination, I know already that we have a mummy. And now the horse comes into this extremely unnatural environment because mummy said, okay, it's okay. The curtain opened, he shit himself, and she said, whoa, it's okay, good boy. And he was like, really? I have no clue how to handle this situation, but if you say it's all right, I will go with you. Hello. You can just keep walking. Okay. You're doing a fantastic job. And so then you start to see a little bit the kind of information that the horse has, one about himself, and also the connection, the relationship between the horse and the human, the rider. And so the good part about the mummy is you're a little bit aware of how the horse is feeling, and is he coping, is he not coping. The dictator in most instances tends to not think about that. He's only thinking he's not doing what I'm doing, and now he's making me look like an idiot, and bloody just do what I tell you because I'm going to be embarrassed, and I've bloody trained you well and you're going to do as you're told. But the mummy, of course, is able to reassure the horse and give the horse a good feeling. So this is important to a point, because the mummy can get far. You can see the change in the horse from not wanting to walk in here, and now the curiosity starts. Now he's feeling like, oh, the energy is quite quiet in here, and mummy is just walking really calmly, so I'm just going to walk calmly with mummy. I'm a bit unsure when all those people are right up my bum. And so then the other important thing is then the awareness of your own energy. And you can see this young lady, consciously or unconsciously, has an awareness of her energy. You can tell in her posture how she holds herself, how she walks. When she went near a scary point, she slowed down. She's feeling something, consciously or unconsciously, in her body, which is being relayed to the horse. So these sorts of things are really important. And it's also about giving time for the horse to have an awareness of their own energy in relation to the energy within the space. So if you all stand up now, look at you all thinking, oh, these are real horse people, they don't want to stand up. And then I want you to feel, without moving, that the energy starts to come up, out of the ground, through your body. You have a circulation of energy that's coming up, out of your body. You can start to move your hands so that you're bringing energy up, out of the ground. The energy's coming up, up this way, circling energy out of your body. So forward, circling energy out of your body, out of your body. And now reverse it. Make your hands go the other way. And if you can, stand still. And just let the rope go, not completely, just with your right hand. And now let your energy go more down in your feet, and you feel the energy really getting down. And you just try to feel the same. You just let the energy go all the way down through the feet. So you feel where your feet are connected to the ground. You feel all the air and everything start to sink down towards the ground. You have an awareness where your energy is going. And now you start to turn that around again. Stay still. Relax. And now you have the energy coming the other way again. It starts to come out of the ground. You start to build the energy up. Circulation of energy is coming up and up and up and up and out of the ground. And now you turn it down again. And so then you can start to see, without doing anything technical, just the awareness of the circulation of energy can change the way the horse interprets and reads the management of himself within the situation. So a horse that came in, shit scared of even walking in here, gets here, is asking all the questions, completely suspicious. We stand up. Is it a dressage horse? Is it a dressage horse? Dressage bred? Yeah. So most horses, how old?
4 years old.
4 years old. So a ridiculous place to bring a 4-year-old dressage horse with this education. Ridiculous. But she was coming to my clinic, so that made it okay. To you know, like, what have you experienced so far? In between the eyes is that of a horse that is 2-year-old in a 4-year-old's body, coming into a place like this with lighting, have to walk through that big curtain, come into the place, be in here for less than a minute, everybody in the place stands up, circulation of energy up, circulation of energy down. So what we've just given is the beginnings of a good experience. We've created an awareness of energy first. So most kind of demonstrations you see from a dressage horse, 4 years old, coming to a place like this, indoors, what happens the first time they come in? Has to do the most fancy trot on the track you've ever seen to impress the judges. And so it's important that we think about what are the experiences we're giving the horses in those moments. I will check your halter. Look how incredibly good and well-mannered these people are, that they're staying standing until we tell them they can sit. Okay, now you can slowly sit. You can stand over here. And then maybe you can find a microphone and you can tell just a little bit the story about the horse.
She's 4 years old. She's got a foal a few months ago. So before she got a foal, we started riding. And now she's back with me 2 weeks, and haven't grown her yet, but I will soon.
Okay. And how was she when you rode her? How was the subtle muck process?
Well, she's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a young horse, so sometimes she finds something a little bit scary, like the mirror.
Like coming into a ring like this through some big curtains.
Yes.
So I just want to start by saying you handled it extremely well.
Sorry?
You have heel goed gedaan. So we're just going to start by creating a little bit more awareness of herself. And you see in the beginning that she has using a lot of energy because she has to use a lot of her focal awareness. She's using focal vision all the time. So to have a good understanding about where you are in the space, creating certainty, so you're not uncertain. When you have good spatial awareness, you know where you are within the space, and you know where you are in relation to the person you're in contact with. In the beginning, when they are searching for where they are within the space, they're using a lot of focal vision. So, oh, there's a bag, oh, there's people, oh, there's lights. And a lot of horses, when they're put into a situation where that's switched on, that becomes the compensation pattern of giving themselves a sense of security. And when you're living all the time in a focal vision state, you never can relax fully in your physiology. So your visual system is controlling this need for control and not to be able to relax. So a horse that's either coming into a space like this and exploring a lot of things, the need for sand between the teeth, is to then give them the understanding of an awareness of the space. So the way you walked in the beginning is of course the way we all learn to walk, but this is for me an advanced position.
Oh.
So when I'm teaching the horses at home the beginnings of where they are within the space and how to measure that space, this is the beginnings of self-management. This position now is managing the horse. She becomes dependent on you. And then in a situation where it's difficult, 1 minute we're in control, the next minute the horse is in control, we start to move out of the way for that reason. And then everybody is a little bit lost. So the first part of creating an awareness is to let her understand where she is within the space by letting her focus on one space. And that is the importance of the space of conversation, we call it. And that is this space, right here. And I want to make an awareness of this space and put an importance on this space so she can start to measure that and have an awareness of that. So she's not looking past and thinking in the future and becoming stressed about what might be. And I'm not putting pressure on the rope, so she's hanging back and she's looking backwards, thinking what was 2 seconds before I got in here. And so the explanation is really important. So the way I explain to the horses what to be aware of is to have first sensation of a space, then the thought, then the body language, then the voice, and then the practical example of thinking about that space. In the beginning, they sometimes think, oh, he wants me to be away. He's sending me away. But what we want them to think and to become aware of is that we're putting focus on the space, because the space is going to explain to you how you can manage yourself in relation to that. So it's not about respect, I'm putting you there, get back, get out of my space, because then this is a controlling thing again. It's taking confidence away. We want to teach her how to be in control of herself. You have the lunging Reaction in the beginning. This is what they learn traditionally from the beginning. So we create movement and sound, and then the horse learns from the beginning, okay, we run away from you and around you. Actually, the thing we never want from them at all. But this is a learned reaction. So we have to go through that bit first. And we start to move. And she's really sensitive, so she's already thinking, what the hell is this stupid Aussie talking about? Why doesn't he just speak normal language? And I start to speed up, energy down. And I want to start to measure this space and to be able to regulate herself. So this is the first part of self-regulation. I'm not standing next to her saying, it's okay, just, oh, good, brav, goed zo. I'm giving her the empowerment of knowing where she should be. Just by letting her be aware of the space, slow down again, self-regulation. Here, I have to equal the explanation to the level of awareness. If she becomes a little bit unaware, then the way I let her know is by a little bit of awareness. If I stop and she walks over the back of me, then I have to make sure I equal, yes, the explanation. And it's about this space. So here I'm not looking at her because I want to put the importance of this space. This is going to determine whether you live or die. Floor is lava. Good. What it also does is it starts to bring the focus here and not the curtain, the lights. Where am I within the space? Oh, I'm here on this piece of sand. So then you're eliminating all the questions, the monkey mind. Start to get all these questions in the mind, and the mind gets busy and the circulation of energy gets up, and we're far away from self-management. So then we practice that. And so she starts to feel in control of herself within the space, energy up. I walk on the toes a bit, and then energy down in my heels. And when she's really good at it, she felt me slow down, so she stops. But in the end, she'll be able to regulate and measure within the millimeter exactly where she is within that space. And this is the first part of that self-soothing, self-regulation. She doesn't feel held. And it's the first part of letting the horses know that they're not being controlled, but they learn to be in control of themselves. This is also the part that when I come back from that story about the first contact, about the horse making the decision, the horse having his own thoughts, it's the same when I ride. I want the horses to really feel like they are not being controlled, but they are in control of themselves in the situation. When I ride, when I put them in a World Cup indoor environment, whatever it is, that they always have this sense that they're in control. And that starts here. And most of the time, it doesn't matter if it's Sally down the road that started riding last week, or it's someone that walks in with 7 gold medals on their neck. 99% of them walk in managing, controlling the horse. And then they say that the horse is sometimes out of control. Because it starts there, this self-management. And then we start to get a position where we can go further in letting her feel how she is in the body. So we start the next step of the self-awareness. And when a horse is in a situation, and we're talking about horse welfare and letting a horse feel good, for me it's about the horse understanding what's going on in their body without them knowing. So the reflex patterns, the involuntary contraction, predict and protect, instinctual things that happen from the moment they're born. We all know the story. You go into the stable with the breeder, And the breeder wants to show you his foal, and he walks up on the bars and says, "Hey, and the horse shits itself and runs to the back of the stable. "Hey, moi beestje." I think, fuck, gonna see that horse in a year or so. So already that horse has learned a predict and protect reaction, involuntary reaction in its body. And then every time when a horse starts to hear a noise or see movement or energy, the body involuntarily goes into this reflex, predict and protect. And so this is not what we want for good functionality. So who knows what the optimal way in which a horse can move is? What is the perfect order? What's an optimal way for a horse to move? It's really simple. This is very important. The optimal way for a horse to move is relaxation, flexion, open the front, and engage the energy from behind. Most horses these days, in a traditional sense, when you're talking about a conflict between modern breeding and old-fashioned outdated training techniques, is you get a horse that's highly reactive, and we don't teach them about movement and noise. We create those pressures in the environment. The horse goes into a defense, and he creates a bad movement pattern, a compensation pattern. He's no longer relaxing, flexing, opening, delivering energy. He's contracting, not relaxing. He's not flexible because now he's tense. Because he's tense, he puts the front legs in the ground, and then he delivers energy. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 7, oh, we never want that one. 5. So it's thinking about what these experiences are and knowing that the horses have these from the beginning. If we're not paying attention to what their experiences are. 2 days old, okay, going back, in the womb, that big breeder that's yelling at that mare and slapping her on the arse to go in the trailer to be tested. The foal comes out, she hears his noise, and she has the same reaction as the mother going into the trailer. But of course we don't have contact until they're on the ground. So now I go through letting her feel the compensation patterns in the body. So the first one we saw when the curtain opened up was a contraction here. Defense, head up. And so the involuntary contraction creates tension. We then go into a tension release point. So tension release is not about trying to get the horse to create a physical action, but first just to create an awareness. So how does this feel? For the horse to have an awareness of what they feel, I have to have no internal dialogue. So not, oh, good girl, oh, now you're relaxing, oh, please drop your head, but only contact. And for her, she also feels the contact. And the first step that I look for is the horse to go from an external distraction there to an internal focus there. And so when the horse can learn to have an internal focus, this is the beginnings of the awareness of the self-management. How do I feel in my own skin? And through that awareness, we slowly start to teach them that the physical action they take is going to determine how they feel. You have to remember that. The physical action that they take is going to determine how they feel. But the physical action that they take in order to be in control of their own physical and mental soundness has to be learned. Because if that is not taught to them by us, then they're only relying on the natural instinct of what Mother Nature gives them. They're running on this blueprint, this map inside their head that tells them what to do and when to do and how to survive for nature, and they don't live in nature anymore. So these parts are important. When we start to create an awareness of the horse's body and where there is tension, and that the horse goes from external distraction to an internal focus, he starts to learn that it's more important to look within than to worry what's going on externally. Don't have to worry about what that crazy woman on that crazy red horse is doing in the warm-up, because if you can learn to manage yourself, then you manage all situations. So we teach the horses to think about themselves and not to try to control the environment, but learn to control themselves. And I just go through feeling how the horse is. You don't have to have a scientific, long educational background in horse anatomy. You just have to have some part of your body that you can make contact with the horse and feel the skin. And teach yourself about how your horse feels. And when you teach yourself how your horse feels, then the horse also learns themselves how they feel. So the basics of it is, most of the time when you have a horse with a lot of tension, you'll create contact. The horse will go into tension. I follow that tension. Automatically, the functionality of the muscle is it goes more in tension. When we take it further in tension, the muscle wants to let go. When the muscle starts to let go, then I take the pressure off. It's in that moment they have the awareness of contraction, relaxation, I feel better. And then what happens is, we don't have to touch them anymore. Most people have seen me walking at the competition in the main arena. Everyone's doing 1,000 extended trots and 100 one-tempies and 28 centre lines because they're still insecure after the 40 they practiced the week before. And I'm walking through and I'm feeling, is my horse in control of his breathing? No, he starts to lose control of his breathing. Have an awareness of what's going on here. He breathes out. I go through, I go to the judge's box. The very good-looking judge is not in there yet, but he's still a little bit letting his body go into this predict and protect mode. I say, what's going on here? Oh yeah, hang on. Let me control myself. And so in the end, you're able to bring an awareness to the parts of the body your horse is now also aware of, and he is able to have the power to change the physiology and change how he feels in every given situation. So now you're the mentor. Now you're not saying, ooh, good girl, it's okay. Now you're saying, excuse me, are you managing yourself? Can you do something in your body to make yourself feel better in this situation? Think really hard about that. I'm slightly distracted from that man. Oh, now I'm thinking about myself. And I say, yeah, that's good. Continue thinking about yourself. So they slowly learn that, hang on, I have the power to control how I feel in this situation. And then slowly you're able to build that up again, not so that they're able to manage all the situations we put them in. That's level 1. It's also for the 23 hours they're not with you. Let's make an assessment. We are with them an hour a day. Probably most people a lot more. But when the bird flies up, when the tractor goes, when they're out in the field, when the mate goes away, when they're alone, all of the environmental things within our space, are they thinking about themselves, or are they trying to control the husband that's on the tractor, or the child that's pushing the pram, or whatever it is it may be? And that's the most important thing, because we can work physically a lot on the body and get them gymnastically good, and then in the other 23 hours they're in the tension gym. And you get them out there, oh God, I've got to work him supple again. What the hell has he been doing overnight? But if they're aware of this and they start to work on themselves, you get him out the next day and think, oh my God, he's a hell of a lot looser than yesterday. And then your horse says, oh yes, I've been working on myself. So this is the idea behind it. Then we start to go through what is the general order of movement in the horse's body, thinking about being optimal again. So you notice every time I walk or move, she's forward. So energy is going forward all the time. And so what I like to feel when I'm teaching the horse is the meaning of the aids, communication aids, rein aid, when you ride, leg aid. What's the meaning of the aid? And what is it your body should do in order to have a good order of movement that is healthy for your body? Most horses that grow up with a modern pedigree in an old-fashioned traditional way of training, they learn tension movement patterns. So in the end, you end up having to have a lot of vet bills and all these things because your horse is in a bad order of movement from the beginning. Even though we're gymnastically trying to ride them correctly, the 23 hours they're not with you, they're in a bad pattern. So even if you ride your horse absolutely perfect for that hour a day without mistake, which is impossible for every human on the planet, you cannot compete with 23 hours that they're in a bad pattern, causing themselves to be in a wrong order of movement. They walk to the drinker, they eat hay and they go like this. So the good order of movement and understanding where the body is to create an awareness of where the stability is coming from. If you go home and you touch your horse and you touch the rein and they fall forward, the horse has not a good awareness of where the stability is coming from. The trap with people that ride in sport is we are looking at the moving leg all the time. We're only focusing on the leg that moves, but try to move this leg without the stability, creating stability and balance to enable movement. So when we ask a horse to move to the side here, and she wants to go forward all the time, what we want to try to teach her is the position where she can create stability, behind and across, not forwards. This is where she wants to go, forwards, over the front. What we want to teach her is to be able to go behind and across, not forwards, this position, not forwards, this step. And in the beginning, they're all doing a Michael Jackson move, saving themselves, creating brace in the body, because they're not learning, stability. And now the leg starts to move. You also get a good idea in the beginning where your horse is more insecure, has less balance, left and right. Of course, we do everything traditionally from the left, so they get used to being on the left, saddling from the left, bridling from the left, getting on from the left. Most of us start riding on the left rein, all of these kind of things. So the side that she has more difficulty, which is now from the right, you see the difficulty in the legs, is I do less on this side. Behind, across, behind, across, behind, across. Why I do less on the side that's difficult is because it's a mind thing. So if we're starting to think, he's strong on the right rein, okay, we work more on that side because it's worse. What happens in the mind? This feels shit. This is difficult. What does the body do when it's difficult? He braces, he gets more stiff, he doesn't get more open and better in the order of movement. So we do more on the side that is easy to get the idea of the technique, the awareness of the body. And you see by the way she moves, she's moving like she's learning to walk. This is the 2-year-old. So the experiences she had, 90% of them she was not ready for, including birth. I thought that in the beginning. I was thinking, now normally my clinics are 8 hours long and I give a whole lot of information. Now I've got to compress it. So this is the beginning part. How is your horse able to find stability? If they don't have a stability in their physiology, the mindset, mentally, if you are standing on one leg and you have to experience a whole lot of stuff, you're insecure. If you can have stability, and you know where that stability is coming from, you can relax. This is the first part. We go into the hind leg, The meaning of the movement in the hind leg, most horses, when you start to make contact here, go into a contraction pattern. You see the line in the belly. So the abdominals contract. It's where a lot of digestive problems come from, where a lot of ulcers come from, all of these health issues because of the compensation pattern, the order of the involuntary reaction in the horse's body is creating this. If every time someone came near your stomach you went, after a while you have some stomach problems. And when you start to create an awareness of it and the horse starts to breathe out, Buddha belly, here, breathing out, you hear all the intestines and the stomach gurgling and the organs starting to be released from the internal contraction in the body. This is how we also reverse a tension movement pattern. So relaxation, inside leg, flexibility, and then the movement. And in the beginning, we want to see not that the outside front leg is twisting in the ground. This is not an opening of the front leg. So here, opening of the front leg. And we want to see a connection in diagonal pairs, left hind, right front. And you see where her feet want to go. Her left front wants to come on my toes. So riding, turning, falling. Falling on inside rein, inside leg all the time. So this is not good. Open the front. Yes. Now connect the hind. This step. This step. This step. This step. Basic functionality. Relaxation, flexion, open the front, engage the hind. So you see already the basic steps. Forward, back, left and right. 4 years old. Brought her in a wheelchair, tipped her out, and said, okay, now move. Hang on, I'm not stable. So of course, if we come into this environment without a basic stability, everything is scary, because the only thing you have is instability and to run from that. So the basics in creating this stability is to give the body the sense that they are in balance and they are in control. And from there, you can start to teach them how to manage themselves in the elements, in the environment that they will experience with a stable body. And that is for episode 2. I can feel you on the back of my neck, like your watch is staring.
Now you understand why I have to check. Thank you very much, Tristan.
My pleasure.
Are there questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, now you can just walk. And you can leave her. She's old enough to carry herself. And she will follow you.
Thank you, Tristan. In the videos I have seen you working with horses, most of the horses are forward horses.
Yes.
I have an Icelandic horse,
Yes.
and he's not that forward.
No.
So it needs to be in the beginning with the walk and the space, maybe aware of space. I do that once or twice, and then I want to walk, and he's like,
Yeah.
how do you go through that? Because every time I
Do the opposite.
do the opposite.
Yes.
Go backward.
Don't do this exercise in the beginning, because it's not a forward horse.
No.
He's hanging back. He's aware of that space between you and him, and he wants to keep as much as possible so he can wait for as long as possible until he has to move.
I'm not scary. I mean,
No, so yeah.
he wants to be with me.
Yeah, and it's the feeling of the physiology. Most horses that don't want to go forward are the horses that are closed in the front.
Yes.
A lot of Icelandic horses are like this. It's why when they feel pressure, they put the head down,
Yeah.
and then they take the rope, and then they run.
Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes they are not exploding, but imploding.
Yes.
Like they don't do anything.
Yes, and you'll see in the physiology a lot of the time when they feel pressure of the halter, when they feel forward, the front legs are going here. So meaning that you want him to walk, but he actually physically can't because his body's doing this. So the handbrake goes in the front. So the first exercise I'm doing then is opening the front. So the body says, yes, I think I can walk there. I'm drawing the horses then to me, not saying be aware of the space and move yourself back, but open the front and come towards the rope and then relax. So the awareness of drawing to something, not pulling, the arrows pointing back, but the drawing to something. This awareness of the space might need to come 2 days after the drawing because now he's like, oh, now I'm free and I'm walking. And then you have to say, yeah, but be aware of this space. So, and that's a lot of the time in the beginning, we see the exercises, but we have to also know who is our horse and what is it. Self-diagnosis, what is it in his body that he's lacking? Most of the horses that are slow, it's first the opening. Most people think get him quick behind. He's slow. Get him on the lunge, get him forward, chase him. What happens with back pressure? You get backward tension in the body. You have to open the front for the horse to say, I can go there. You want his body to lead himself. So it's the opening of the front, drawing towards, and never the awareness in the beginning of the space, because then he's really aware, and then he's leaning more back.
Thank you very much. That makes sense.
Is that also the take-home message that the other people can take with them? Because I think you can do this with every horse. I think a lot of horses need this.
Yes.
That they do this exercise, what you said?
Every horse.
Every horse, so.
Yes. It's our responsibility. And the problem is we're missing, a lot of the important things for especially the modern type horses. We didn't do a lot. Look at the difference. It's a couple of things. But we miss that. We take them out. The good thing is I have to work him today. Then I've done good. And you stick them on the lunge and you chase them around, or you get on and they go around with their head in the air, or they spook 10 times. And 20 years ago it was fine. You could get the old Oldenburger and you could lunge him for 10 minutes and put the whole family on. Now, get a Cave Piena, you can lunge him for 3 years and he's still going to buck you off. So with what we're breeding now, a horse that has a high motoric skill, sensitive, electric, expressive. What comes with that is a higher level of natural instinct to survive. And we are not aware how much we're influencing the horses from the very beginning, before they are born, how we're influencing the horses into a bad pattern.
I don't want to stop with this sentence.
Well, this is for me what horse welfare is about. And that is my goal, to create a life for horses that's better than nature intended. And I have a lot of interesting discussions over that. But horses cannot learn this from nature. This is about connection. They can receive things from us that gives them a life that is better than nature intended. If you're going to think about self-mastery, that your horse has self-mastery. When I work with a horse of my own and I go to the competition and we go to the vet check and I walk and he walks and I stop and he looks at all the other horses, I can see that he's thinking, what a bunch of amateurs. Is anyone controlling themselves here? Why has that stallion got 2 chains on it and 3 guys hanging off him? Are these lunatics here? Are we in the loony bin? What's going on? And giving your horse that sense and that feeling like, I can manage myself in all situations. This is horse welfare. This is letting your horse feel that he's comfortable and he can have a fulfilling life without fear, without discomfort. And again, as we all know, this is our responsibility. I am no expert. This is just what I have found through working with thousands of horses and thousands of people. And this is my passion, to really find a way in order for our horses to thrive in this environment we put them in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.